What's the biggest misconception about relationships you had when you were growing up that you learned weren't realistic as an adult? Abusers are chameleons. They can be the charming dad who makes those stupid dad jokes that all the neighbors trust. They can be the pretty blonde mom with the big semi-wealthy family and the enviable career with the city. They can look perfect from the outside but behind closed doors be a complete horror show, and absolutely no one would be remotely aware that most people are not well-adjusted adults. We all got baggage. Sometimes their baggage is crap you've already worked through, making helping them and being supportive traumatic. Someone's they're not willing to work through it. Sometimes your crap is so bad that you can't be in a relationship. There's still full-grown adults who think having any baggage is a deal breaker. Baggage isn't just children and exes. It can be past traumas, things from childhood, physical and emotional difficulties, sexual hang-ups, etc. I've always liked the quote from Rent, "I'm looking for baggage that goes with mine." That the fights about the dirty dishes aren't about the dirty dishes. They're about not feeling heard, appreciated, provided for, like a team, you name it, whatever applies in the situation. I read a book years ago that said, "What's the issue when the issue isn't the issue?" ETA. The book was Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs. I think as kids and teens, through media and other outlets, we're taught that the ultimate goal is to find the one and that celebrating longevity in a relationship is great. So often they will stay with the wrong person because it's considered a failure to end things than it is to accept that you're not a perfect fit. They will make excuses for bad boyfriends because they so desperately want to find the one. In reality, there's nothing wrong with admitting something isn't right. There's no difference between a couple who have been together 20 or 50 years versus a couple who have been together 2 and are just as happy. It's all about happiness and value. I was with my ex for 6 years and he made me miserable. I made excuses for him, told myself he was great underneath all the crap, and was scared to leave him. I didn't want to waste all those years we shared. But I eventually took the leap and ended it, and it was the best decision I ever made. I don't see those years as wasted, but as a period of learning. But don't stay with someone you know doesn't make you happy. It's not worth it. That good relationships consist of people that don't really enjoy being around each other. I think the perception mostly came from all the ridiculous ball and chain lazy, stupid husband jokes. I honestly thought that once you got married you would end up hating each other, and you just had to deal with it. That it's not all about romance and rainbows. Your partnership and respect is what it's all about. I've been with my partner for 8 years, and we met young. He was 21 and I was 24. We have grown together and changed over that time. We are always learning from and about one another, and our love runs very deep. We have pulled each other through family deaths, job losses, lack of income and the rest that comes with being this age whilst growing up and developing into adults. Without respect and understanding and a willingness to listen we wouldn't have made it this far. Love is amazing and what makes the world go round, but you need to be able to get through the darker moments. Mental health issues, real life crap together too, and a willingness to listen with an undeniable respect for one another is what I believe creates a strong bond and partnership. I'm saving this. Needed to read something like this for the sake of my own relationship. Thank you. That relationships are hard work and you don't give up on them. Yes, that's ultimately a good policy and way to approach a healthy marriage. No relationship will ever be without its challenges. But as a young adult I stayed in relationships longer than I should have and even was in a really unhealthy one for 3 years because I thought that's what you're supposed to do. Thank goodness I wised up to that. Fights are normal, no. Discussions are normal. You shouldn't constantly fight with your partner, but you can have disagreements because you're two different people. Also, growing up Catholic, relationships are always between a man who works and a woman who provides for the kids. That they save you and you live happily ever after. The end. You never see the after part in the movies. It's all sad protagonist with a host of personal issues and blockages to love, has her walls broken down through a process of personal growth and lust, excitement and butterflies. The reality is that relationships are mostly the boring stuff, the hard stuff, the daily grind of two humans trying to live together, and you can feel more alone and miserable in the wrong relationship and also be perfectly happy on your own. Again, we're never taught these things. We're sold a pup really. I really hate the fact that I grew up watching novellas and romantic movies. I grew up with such a misunderstanding of what it takes to be married. I thought it was all roses and flowers until I got married. I now realize that that's all BS and marriage is hard AF. Everyone always said you'll find someone. It was always taught that everyone ends up with someone long term. I haven't found anyone. I know plenty of older adults that haven't found anyone, and there's nothing wrong with it. I wish someone had just told younger me that it was possible and it wasn't a problem instead of making me think there was something wrong with me. I agree with this, and I wish society had more recognition for the value of non-romantic relationships. We expect people to get everything from a romantic partner and don't acknowledge that that can be both very unrealistic and you can potentially have some of those needs met by something like a deep, committed friendship. That being in a relationship means you have the best dream life, or only those who are in a relationship have it together. You can be your best when you are single, likewise you may not be your best when you are with someone. I'm not trying to say anything against those who are in a relationship though. I've been in a great marriage since I was 20 and never felt like I was ahead in life because of it. I'm just as big of a loser as I was before. That the goal of a relationship is to find the one that lasts for a lifetime. I found that puts way too much pressure on everyone involved, and most dating situations don't last for a lifetime. That doesn't have to be a bad thing. An experience can still be all fun, but because we are programmed to find the one that lasts forever, we get so disappointed and that becomes a killjoy. I would add that if it doesn't last forever, then it wasn't love. Some loves are for a season. Some loves are for a lifetime. Some folks who love for a lifetime but are only with for a season. All love is meaningful and valuable because it teaches us how to be better versions of ourselves. The best loves teach us how to better love ourselves. I learned with my first boyfriend, who is still my boyfriend, that jealousy wasn't cute or healthy or anything. Back then, I was really surprised and kinda upset that he wasn't telling me anything when I was close to other boys, who were my and his friends, which makes no sense. So I was confused and kinda joking while saying we were in a half couple because he let me do everything I wanted with anyone I wanted. One day I learned that he wasn't jealous not because he didn't love me, but he wasn't because he trusted me, and that's how I realized that a couple shouldn't be a burden or an obstacle to your freedom. Jealousy doesn't mean love, it reveals insecurities. If you find the one, life will be perfect and all roses. Love and relationships are hard. It's constant effort and balance. You have to be honest. Can't hide things, even if you're embarrassed or ashamed. You have to forgive and forget. You can't hold grudges. It's constant work. When it works though, it's fantastic. Freaking this so much. You need to always be open about feelings and issues and not great looking dumb. Just communicate and talk reasonably on a consistent basis. You have to deal with your own crap still. It isn't fair or right to just dump it on your so and expect them to fix it for you. Venting is okay as long as you aren't hoping for them to always sweep in and save the day for you. I was told that sex isn't important in a relationship. This went hand in hand with the wait until marriage narrative I was told growing up. Sex was something strictly biological or methodical, and enjoyment was either something you control yourself or simply disregard. We always emphasize qualities like personality, passions, and hobbies, interests, but really downplay the importance of sexual attraction and compatibility. I was in a relationship for the longest time where sex was awful, and not for a lack of trying, but the relationship persisted because I believed that sexual compatibility and attractiveness was something that can be looked past. Physical attraction is an important part of compatibility, even if sex isn't the most important thing in a relationship. Never apologize for having preferences. I guess mine is kinda backwards. My mom was 16 when I was born and her struggles made her pretty bitter. I was told that true love isn't real. It's just for stories and I need to be practical and realize it's just not gonna happen. My experience of a relationship was that you come home and sit on separate couches and watch TV without speaking, then go to bed in separate rooms. This led to me settling for a complete loser for 8 years. I justified it by telling myself that other cultures do arranged marriage and if I just tried hard enough, I'd go back to being as into him as I was when we met in 8th grade. Thank fricking God I met the man I'm with now. Left my ex for him and never regretted a thing. And you know what? We truly love each other. It's not a pipe dream to want someone to hold your face and tell you that you are cherished. There isn't something wrong with me for wanting a partner to be my best friend. I've been feeling extra lucky since the lockdown started because being with him is the first time I've lived with someone that brings me joy to be home with all day. That your partner would understand everything or anticipate your feelings. It's actually very much about communicating your wants, needs, and feelings clearly. You can't just expect your partner to read your mind. Going off of that, the idea that your soulmate is the person who just knows what you're thinking, feeling, and if your partner doesn't know your thoughts without you telling them, then they're not the one for you and you should keep looking for that mystical person who can read your mind. Such a romantic idea that is not real for all the reasons you said. Not just about romantic relationships, but all of them. I used to believe that if you generally were really nice and accommodating all the time, and didn't ask people for much, then when you did ask for something, people would take you seriously and know it was a big deal. But really, you train people how to treat you. If you train people to do what they want and ignore what you want because you will go along with it, then when you do speak up, people will assume it's not that big of a deal because you are good at going along with things. And it's not them being cruel, it's a normal aspect of human psychology. That's why it's really important to practice kind, respectful negotiation. If your partner wants Thai food and you want Mexican, but you're willing to do Thai to make them happy, it's totally okay to say, you know, I'm kinda feeling Mexican, but I know you did Mexican for lunch yesterday. Let's do Thai. Then you give your partner the opportunity to recognize that you are happily doing what they want to do to make them happy, and thank you for it. And know that next time when you say, hey, can we go for Mexican today, it's not just a random offhand suggestion. You wanted Mexican last week and were willing to compromise, so of course we'll go where you want this time. I have no idea why, but my mom always had this people that are very in love tend to fight all the time thing. Thank God I broke that cycle and I've been in a happy, healthy relationship for 10 years now, and we have had minimal fights, and even those could probably be chalked up to stern arguments. We just communicate very well with each other and don't let a lot of crap build up. We're both very upfront about what we're feeling when we're feeling it. That your partner should be everything. Your best friend, your confidant, your peace, etc. I now think my partner will always be my first priority in life, but I don't expect him to serve every role in my life to make it complete flourish. I had an ex-BFF who, though she barely ever saw us, her friends. When she did, either she would bring him and his group of friends so he wouldn't be alone, or be the whole time texting him and go away early. Plus anything that I would confess or tell her as my BFF, or vents, she would tell everything to him then laugh about it in front of other people. Let's just say we aren't friends anymore. That they are the best thing that could happen to you. All grown now, and I know for sure it could also be the worst thing to ever happen to you. It could lead to depression, early death, self-hate, regret, bad debt, losing yourself, etc. Have you read the books? Heard the stories? Experienced them? Watched them? Yep. And the majority of people don't even speak up about how they've got them fricked up. Either they are quiet about it or choose to act fulfilled. Relationships are complex if we are being honest, but if you get it right, it's a total blessing. That deep gut-wrenching, nausea-inducing feeling in your stomach is just butterflies and you just physically shake and puke when a guy likes you because you just get so cute and nervous. Maybe that's the case for some, or maybe you're actually a lesbian. That something doesn't have to be wrong in the relationship for it to end. I dated a guy for 3 years because there was nothing wrong with our relationship, even though I wasn't happy. I always felt like I couldn't break up with him because he was a good person. He tried to make things work between us, and I did too. At the end of the day, we were just really good friends, but not good significant others. I felt like one of us had to do something super awful to break up, but when we broke up, we just agreed that it wasn't there anymore, and that we would be much better off as friends. And we are still friends to this day. Now people are confused because I still talk to him, and we are pretty good friends. People who don't understand us think, oh, he's going to try and win her back, but that's just not the case. We were meant to be friends. That a breakup or divorce is not a failure and doesn't mean the whole relationship was a mistake or that you'll regret the time you spent with the person. Sometimes things are just blah. You don't need to be swooning over your partner every day. You are both humans that do human stuff. Doesn't mean they're wrong for you if you aren't obsessed with them 100% of the time. That relationships are all consuming passion like in those rom-coms. My husband and I have only been married for 2 years and we genuinely love each other so much. But most of our time has been spent either jokingly insulting each other or sitting quietly with each other but doing our own thing. When you're with someone you are truly comfortable with, your interactions can be quite casual without being insecure about where you stand. For some reason every show or book I read always showed that one or the other would cheat or crush on other people during the relationship, and that had to be normal and a problem just as common as like arguing over who should cook this time. Until I realized that it is not normal and that expecting loyalty is a basic thing. That I get to enjoy sex too. My first adult relationship was pretty gnarly. I was just 18 and I thought sex was painful, unenjoyable and that I never wanted it, but it was something I had to provide. In my teens and early 20s I thought relationships were supposed to be tumultuous, dramatic, full of fighting and cheating because you loved that person. Turns out, you can just break up with someone if you aren't happy. What a freaking revelation. I think I had sort of a weird one since I didn't have a very great home life when I was young. My entire childhood I had a single mom and a crappy dad. It sort of taught me that men ain't crap, which my sisters and I constantly remembered through middle and high school. I almost hated men and didn't want to date anyone to the point that my classmates made a rumor about me being asexual. Dumb kids. I was convinced that men were inherently bad news since I hadn't seen a single good example of one in my entire extended family, except for my gay uncles that have been together for over 15 years. Eventually, I met this guy in my technical school that was interested in me. I kind of just thought that I'd date him for a couple months and break it off just to destroy that dumb rumor about me. Horrible juvenile thinking, I know, but a couple months turned into 3, then to 6, then to a year, then 2 years, and I just couldn't find an excuse not to like him. We've been dating for almost 6 years now and I'm very happy. I knew the entire time that men ain't crap could only be applied to the men like my dad, not everyone. I just needed a guy in my life that gave me proof of that. I am really happy for you. I also have a bad example of father, so I always thought the same of men, but I also have found a good one. Love isn't just a feeling. It's a commitment. The honeymoon phase fades because you stop putting an effort to make someone feel loved. I always knew that. What I have learned is that with this definition I could technically make anything work, if I just, or if he just. So I have to have boundaries and standards that I hold myself to. I need to have a reason to stay rather than a reason leave. Also I'm question my attraction to men in general, so there's that too. That my boyfriend would be very romantic and surprise me bouquets of flowers every once in a while, and that once you move in, everything is all rainbows and sunshine. It's not. There's many fights about the stupidest little things, but we always make up. Thinking that there is someone just perfect for me. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. A lifetime relationship is not about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone who makes you happy, who makes you the best version of yourself. As a child, I would look at the grown-ups and think, "Bro, I can't wait to not need my mom or dad to drive me around. And I look forward to buying all the things that mom said I couldn't have because money." Yep, regretted those whimsical fancies as soon as I applied for college and my mom had me take out student loan in my name. I realized how little value there was to money. It was just never enough. Everything was suddenly expensive as heck. That it would be easy to find someone who you love and they love you, and that you will work together to make it work. Not easy at all. I think I will find that person, but it has taken many heartbreaks and failed relationships to get there. Not a woman, but I'm 32 and have been in my current relationship for about 3.5 years. I think the most profound thing I learned in this time is that your romantic partner doesn't have to satisfy all your social needs. I'm very happy with my partner, but if you'd described her to me in my 20s, I'd have said she's not my type. I thought I wanted someone who's an intellectual equal. Someone who'd be a great philosophical sparring partner, but who ultimately shared my views on the most important issues. And I wanted someone who had all the same interests as me. Basically, I wanted a best friend who is also a 10/10 romantic partner. Turns out, that's a lot to expect of one person. I figured out pretty quickly that my girlfriend isn't a huge nerd. She's not really engaged in ideas and issues. She doesn't enjoy debating. She doesn't play a lot of video games, and so on. But she's incredibly giving of herself and open to trying things for my sake. And she's better than me at a lot of things that are super useful, like managing household finances, remembering appointments, and a million other things that boil down to being the real adult. As it turns out, having a wonderful, caring partner who makes your life easier is priceless. And as for all that other stuff I thought my lady needed to have, turns out I've got friends for that. I have different people in my life for different social purposes, and it's working out just fine. How much work long-term relationships are. Relationships are usually depicted as really easygoing and easy to maintain, but it requires a lot of work for people to feel heard and to find a common ground that works for both people in the long term. That when your partner, parent, relative, is hurtful toward you or somebody else, you don't tell anything, they will eventually stop. If you show you're hurt, or have any reaction, it's your fault if they keep hurting you after that. Truth. No, they won't stop if they are F-but, and if they are bullying you, they must know it's not okay. Period. You're not going to be fixed when you get into a relationship. It's fine that your relationship can be inspiration for wanting to be better, but don't expect the relationship itself to be the glue that holds you back together. Also, don't expect to be the one that fixes your partner. Again, it's good to encourage your partner to get better and help them in the process, but it's not your job to fix them. I had that kind of fantasy when I was younger. Luckily I kicked to the curb by the time I got into a relationship. My BF and I both have our own issues, but we get help from outside sources first, like therapy, and we then talk to each other about how we're planning on bettering ourselves and basically help hold each other accountable to make sure we're actually doing. That someone who really loves you won't ask you to change. Everyone has toxic traits. Your partner should help you grow. That relationships are really hard work, full of misery and having to give up what you want. This is just horseshit that people in unhappy relationships spout. Relationships do require effort, but if it's hard work and makes you unhappy more than times than not, it isn't the right relationship. I think a lot of people settle rather than looking for someone who is actually a good fit for them, so they have to put it in constant hard work to make the relationship survive. People forget that relationships should be fun and happy a lot of the time too. That sometimes even amazing relationships require work, and that's okay. My partner and I have an awesome relationship and love each other dearly, but sometimes we struggle with communication and intimacy because of our backgrounds, past relationships. We're in couples therapy because we want to improve something that's already really good and fulfill our potential, not because we hate each other or are broken. Don't go after men you're attracted to. Focus on their personality and whether or not they're going to be a liability or an asset in your life. You need to have attraction too, otherwise you become roommates. That you must tell your partner everything about you. Number. It is absolutely okay to keep some things private. Boundaries are healthy and good to have in relationships. That lovey-dovey feelings will just spring up after dating for a while, even if you don't really know the person. I didn't learn this until last year, I think. Also when I realized that I am demi-romantic, but that's another story. Being demi is such a minfuck. Nothing about the narrative or structure of dating is built for it. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.